Hi, this is Allison coming to you from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I see that my calendar is needing to be changed. So today is Monday and we're at January 13th, and this is my Artist Almanac calendar, which I can link in the description. And sometimes when I do my videos, I start with my calendar. Other times I start with something different. Really depends on the day and my mood. For those of you that subscribe to my channel and know me, you know that I love to do unedited videos of random inspiration. And so we're just going to start here with this beautiful collage fodder page. So something that you could later glue into a journal or into your mixed media work. And this says, "Very truly yours." And this just reminds me how I kind of get nostalgic when I see old typewriters, and I would love to kind of go back to working on an old typewriter. And I see that this was possibly typed out on like a piece of tape or something, and just very inspiring. So we're going to start with keeping that out beside us, and I want to show you what I've been working on. So again, if you've been following me, you may have seen me working on this panel, or at least I would have showed you kind of when it was at a work in progress stage. And this is tiny. It is 3 inches square. I have small hands, and so that just gives you an idea of how small this little cradled wood panel is. I've titled it Hope, and I dated it and put my name and my signature. Even though it doesn't show up very well here, I kind of like that. I painted the edges with my Payne's gray, so sort of a dark navy paint, which I love. As you can see, I really like polka dots. And instead of doing the edges a solid color or with like chunky acrylic colorful paints, I really just thought, why am I not doing my edges in something that's so authentic to my style, which is these polka dots and this navy. I feel like black is just too harsh for my particular artwork and my liking, but everybody is different. And so I just thought I'd share with you, this is a watercolor painting that was done on 140-pound Arches cold pressed watercolor paper. And essentially I call it mounting it to a cradled wood panel. So cradled means it has this little edge in here, and wood panel, it's made of birch wood, and this is a Canadian company called Apollon Gotrek. I believe they're out of Montreal, and I had purchased these little panels at Kensington Art Supply here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, just one of the local art stores. When I was there today, she said they probably won't be ordering this size back in because they aren't very popular. But I really loved working on this size. It does take probably longer than if I was to work on a, how do I say? When you work so small, you would think that it maybe would be faster, but it's really not. I would say I still took okay. So you okay, Oakley? Oakley's having his treat ball behind me, so you could probably just hear him. He's eating these, they're like freeze-dried dog treats in this little mesh ball, and so he might have inhaled some of the the freeze-dried dog food. Okay, he's okay. So back to this, I'm kind of distractible today, but that's just how I am in my videos, and I really want to start this video over. That's what I'm thinking in my head, but I'm not going to. So this is, again, watercolor paper mounted, otherwise known as glued, with a matte gel to the panel. And I always do the edges first, but that's, well, I shouldn't say I always do the edges. This time I painted the edges first. So I have a few panels laying around that are just painted edges. And I don't bother to put tape to protect the top. I probably should. And then I glue the painting over top, and this has 2 coats of Dorland's wax medium. So you can see a little bit of a sheen when the light hits it, and that's because I buffed on 2 really good coats of the Dorland's wax medium. You can also do the sides, which I'll probably do prior to listing this little piece. And I just get really excited because if you found those little hooks that screw in, you could put a beautiful ribbon on this, and it is such a nice weight for an ornament, like for, you know, a tree. I'm thinking, you know, Christmas ornament, or putting it on, you know, a fireplace, or a very, very tiny spot on a wall. Most walls, though, I mean, this would get lost. It would get lost. You could do like a gallery wall where there's multiple little panels. I also could see this being a cute little fridge magnet, and I had just kind of hooked it over one of the magnets I have on my fridge currently, and it's just a really nice size. So many options. It's a lovely kind of little gift for the person that may not have a lot of space, or maybe has everything. You don't know if they're really gonna want to hang it on their wall. It's a great little place just to keep on a desk at work. I just really love this 3-inch square size. I think it's pretty neat. I'm super into doing these paintings right now, so I'm going to be showing you more, and so stay tuned for that. I also wanted to share with you, you know, I've been buying, this is the brand Apollon Gottrick, and these are birch wood panels, and they are fairly pricey, especially if you're, you know, not in a good rhythm of doing this type of process, because, you know, if it doesn't go well, you've paid, you know, like a really high quality piece of, say, Arches watercolor paper. So with whatever your budget is, that's sort of the material that you want to work on. But I have to say, so this was $10.75 Canadian. This was actually still, I think it was $10 and something. It was around $10, or both the same price. So even though this is so much smaller, I think it's because the place where these are made, it's just as much work. So it's not so much about the materials, but it's just about this kind of, I don't know if you'd say craftsmanship or whatever goes into it. I find you'd think smaller pieces would be more affordable, but that's not necessarily the case. So I can just show you. So this is the 3-inch square size. This is the 5 by 5 inch size. And when I was at Michael's Canada today, I looked to see if I could find more of these super affordable. I mean, this was just under probably $3, maybe 2 something at Michael's in Canada. And it's not in the framing part of the store. It's just called a wood plaque. Now, this is just super, super cheap. I'm not sure exactly what this is, what this material is. When I had painted the edges in my iridescent fine bronze golden heavy body paint, which is a very high quality paint, normally when I paint the edges of this other brand, the Gottrick, I don't have any issues. When I did this one, it turned a slight green and I had to do several coats. So I imagine whatever the wood might be treated with or not treated with does have an impact on, you know, maybe a chemical reaction to the paint. But this is a great base for a painting that I'm going to glue right over top. The only downside of this one, I mean, you could create a little painting just to go in here. The only thing I have to show you is kind of these cute little cards by Kathy Nichols, these artist flashcards with the color combinations. But I was thinking this would be kind of cute to hang on the wall, and you could paint around the edges and cut a painting to fit and glue it in there. Or I like the idea of hanging it, holding a nail underneath here, just popping it on the wall, or again, making it an ornament or a fireplace kind of piece of artwork. And even though this has a bit of a ledge on it, you can still work around that and just glue an exact size. And I do have one that is drying right now, and I I don't think I'm gonna go get that today. I can show you during the next video, but I have a piece that I am gonna mount on this panel, so I'll show you and let you know how that goes. But I just thought I'd share with you how much more affordable these are. Again, these are around $2, $2 to $3 Canadian, which is even more affordable to those of you that might be in the US. And yeah, so it's just called a Make Market wood plaque. And I'm not sure what size this is. I think it will definitely be approximately 3 inches in length, but I'm not too sure with width. So it might be 3 by 5 inches. And oops, so because I showed you these cute little cards, I'm just gonna start talking about them. So Kathy Nichols is a wonderful artist out of Asheville, and her studio was hit by the hurricane. Fortunately, she had a home studio, and most of her art cards, her artist calendars that she's selling for 2025, a lot of her products were salvaged and they weren't damaged, but she does have, she had a lot of work that was, of course, I think in this art studio that was under the water. And so it's just great to support artists that may be in places where they've had, you know, whether it's the forest fires, the destruction, the hurricanes, flooding, and these are her True Colors artist flashcards, which they're just such a lovely little deck of cards. And if you have an artist or a creative in your life, and if I just picked one, this is such a beautiful color. So this is just called Navy, and the way that she would create this color would be ultramarine blue, a touch of alizarin crimson, and Payne's gray. So this would come in handy to me if I really wanted to get that darker hue in my artwork. I would love to kind of learn more about color theory. I had a laugh because someone had kindly written to me, and they had said in the email, or actually it was a comment about how purple is not a primary color, and I couldn't believe I actually said that in my video, because even though I'm not an expert in color theory, I know very little about color theory. That's something I'm working on, but I do know that I think I was talking about purple and yellow and how they're complementary colors, and when they mix, what does that create? But I think I must have said in my video that purple was a primary color. So just to correct myself here, red, yellow, and blue are the primaries. And this is not, though, you do not want to take lessons from me in color theory, because I am more of an intuitive artist when it comes to working with colors, and it's just all about practice. And I do try to drop in little bits of knowledge if I'm quite confident in that knowledge. And so yeah, thank you. I forget who had mentioned that, but I really appreciate that correction. So because I don't edit my videos, even if I did listen to it back, which I do when I first upload the video to YouTube, I put it on double speed, and I just make sure there's like nothing super obvious. I've never had to redo a video or not post a video. But if there was a little error like that, I don't edit my videos. I just don't go back to them. So thank you for putting it in the comments. And yeah, I just wanted to address that. And I look forward to pulling a card from my art poetry artist card deck. It matches this cute little artwork. And let's just see, this was the last card that I had pulled with you all. And thanks to everybody that has commented on my new blog. I only have about probably 4 or 5 blog posts now. The first were done with the help of a friend and AI, which I was really turned off of, and they were posted. But the 3rd, 4th, 5th blogs, and hopefully all my future blogs, are my authentic writing style, and they they are, yeah, just true to myself as an artist. I am not going to use AI, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for everybody that has commented. And I thought that possibly people could upload photos that I've inspired them to paint of their art to the blog, but it turns out that's not something I can do. It's probably a good thing, because that would just probably be another overwhelming part of going through all those photos and approving them, and I believe they probably do take up space on the website. So you can post comments. I encourage comments if you read my blog and you have suggestions or feedback or anything. Feel free to write on my blog. The comments just come to me by email, and then I approve them. So that's the process. Thanks for helping me figure it all out. And in between videos, I really like doing the blog posts. So we'll see how long I can keep that up. And this card, it just, like, when I'm sitting back looking at it, I feel like there's so much beauty in the color, just how, you know, I can see how much I love polka dots and that beautiful Payne's gray, the dark navy, and the blues. I think that's that ultramarine blue that I had used up here in this painting. And this is a card I've never pulled before on video, and it says reinvent yourself. And this particular painting is titled Found, and it was when I found a technique, a style that I just loved and I felt was quite unique. It's definitely been done before. It's out there. It's not something that's brand new and I made it up myself. I just want to clarify that. But this is that reticulated pattern. It's also been referred to as like a dendritic pattern, where it's hard for you all to see. I'm just going to zoom you in. But just that sort of, with my healthcare background, I call it more of a reticulated a dendritic pattern. And this painting reminded me of this beautiful large feather. And you can just see I love to drip downward. That was how I started a lot of my work when I first started trying to find my style. You can see this little watercolor piece that's dripped downward as well. And I'm just gonna see if Oakley needs me to retrieve his ball. Oh, no, he still has it. So, and yeah, so reinvent yourself. So how can you reinvent yourself? Maybe that's just a question I'll kind of let sit with you. I feel like as creatives and as artists, I mean, it's something that I think we all kind of crave as we get into the creative process. I know for myself, I love to learn new ways of doing things. I love to take classes and learn from other artists, and I love to find those happy accidents where I've just stumbled on something that was unintentional and unexpected but turns out quite neat. And I think for me, what I'm doing to kind of reinvent my artwork is adding those botanical collage pieces into my work. So I was just gonna see if I have an example, but I will have an example to show you next time I do a video. I've been doing botanical kind of monoprints and playing with real botanicals, whether they're dried or fresh, and it's just been really fun putting those into my art poetry paintings. So this style, but with collage. This particular piece, I did consider putting some collage into it, although it was just so small, and I like the composition. I felt like it didn't really need anything else. So I'm just gonna put that aside, and then I wanted to show you some awesome inspiration that was delivered in the mail today. And this is probably the first piece of mail, maybe the second, that I have received since early, well, I'd say November 12th, just before the Canada Post strike. So this is like so exciting. And they say that anticipation makes it's anticipation that really makes life so exciting. So I was reading in I forget what book it was, but it was all about when you're planning a vacation and you're getting super excited about the vacation, the part of it that's so good for our brain is that dopamine, that serotonin, all those feel-good hormones that we get from the planning phase, not from the actual vacation itself. And it just shows that anticipation is, I think it's called an anticipatory dopamine, and how that is sometimes just as good as getting to whatever it is we're anticipating. And I think these days everything is so, I mean, you want something, you can probably order it on Amazon, or if you're communicating with someone, you know, you are texting them and going back and forth like almost immediately. We all get that instant gratification kind of because the way our society is set up. And I feel like I'm digressing in a route that I don't want to go in. So back to the butterflies. This is just the most beautiful cover. So this is number 64. This is a magazine that is printed in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I just, this cover just makes me want to paint and collage butterflies. So maybe that's something we can do soon. And just gonna do a little flip through and bring you up a little bit. So I thought I would just do, yeah, just a really quick flip through before I go in really deep on my own. There are so many brilliant creative ideas, and each page is just full of inspiration. Something I'm trying to do is when I'm looking through a magazine, I still am kind of old school. I like to just put a little mark on the corner of the page if I want to go back to something. But for me, I'm finding that I almost need to just write down, have like a little notepad handy and just jot down some notes, whether it's an artist that I might want to look up on, you know, social media or their website, or something that I looked at, you know, this page of ink, the inks, where is it? I just saw a page with all these inks, and it just reminds me that I want to go back and explore more work in the acrylic inks and on canvas. And this magazine is wonderful if you can pass it forward to, you know, a creative friend, a creative person in your life, maybe leaving it in the little local libraries. We have a few of those outdoor libraries, which is pretty neat. And getting inspiration, you know, maybe you see a page that you would love to use in collage. This is just such a neat visual of the alphabet. And this magazine features artists worldwide. It's very diverse and all-inclusive. So just do a quick flip through this way. Shows some artist studios. That's pretty neat. Getting ideas for your studio space. Just seeing this here makes me want to do like almost a whole bunch of minis, like 3-inch square wood panel minis and have, say, I don't know, 8 of them on the wall as like a little gallery feature, a gallery wall. Just seeing all of these together is neat. I love looking at big collections where you can see the artist style kind of woven throughout. Yeah, so just I'm so excited to get into bed early tonight and go through this magazine. What does inspiration mean to you? That's a great question to think about. Where do you find it, or does it find you? I think for myself, I find it so many places, and it's just a matter of acting on the inspiration when I find it. But then maybe it does somehow when you're in that creative mindset, you know, it feels like it finds you after a while. That creativity finds you working. I forget that quote, or yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I am going to do a little bit of painting with you all. So I am going to work out of 2 different types of little watercolor pads. This one I got a really good deal on at Kensington Art Supply. It was on sale for $3.75. So for 12 sheets of wonderful 140 pound watercolor paper. These are some little backgrounds that I have been working on. I just love the colors in this one. I can't wait to go back and do some mark making. So I'm going to work out of this one, and then this is another really affordable one. It's the Michaels in-house brand called Artist Loft. It's their watercolor pad, again 140 pounds and 28 sheets. And I like to kind of work on two paintings at a time with my art poetry style. It's just a great way to kind of get out of my head, and that's just what I recommend, is working in quantity. I'm gonna put out, just so I don't forget to pull a card, in my Little Frog's Guide to Self-Care affirmation deck, because that's been just a fantastic deck. And I'm going to get comfortable here, and I'm just gonna work with my ocean paper watercolor palette, and I'm not going to go through all the colors today. This is just going to be a video about using what you have. Just going to give them a little spritz. And so, yeah, I'm going to work with my ocean paper watercolors and just put down some colors that I love. I'm going to be working with my Princeton number 12 round brush that I've had for a while now. And I tend to start with magenta or pinks. I really, really like to start with pink, magenta. And maybe in one area I'll do like an art poetry painting, and maybe on this painting I'll do sort of a side landscape. And I have a piece of paper where I can kind of clean my brush. I'm gonna grab my paper towel just for wiping off excess. And you can see I put the color that I've chosen in a couple different places. And then I'm gonna dip into another kind of warm color and just see what I feel like when I put it, when I put it on the page. And that's a beautiful kind of orange color. And this one. And when I am painting, I'm kind of noticing the difference between these 2 brands, the Strathmore watercolor paper and the Artist Loft watercolor paper. And I'm going to go into, not sure what color this is, like an ochre, maybe a yellow ochre. And I'm not really thinking too much. I'm just doing organic shapes with colors I am experimenting with. I'm gonna try this really interesting kind of greenish color and just go right into this area here. And I've decided that I want more of that color, but a little bit darker. And so I'm just gonna put that color in here. So if you're working along with me, I am hoping you're just feeling super relaxed. You have your watercolor that's, you know, kind of in your budget, easy to reach. And you're just sort of in that mode of experimentation and play. You can see I dropped that color in here. I really like that color, but I'm not going to repeat it on this particular composition. I'm going to go back into that dark green and just drop a little bit in the middle there, maybe a little bit at the top. And I'm going to go into, I'm not sure what color this green is, just a slightly lighter kind of khaki green. And dropping it in, letting the painting kind of speak back to me if I just don't overwork it. So I have found with watercolors, the more you just put the water and the pigment down and just let it do its magic, it's sort of a great place to work. So I added that lighter color and I just touched it in the magenta, which was still a bit wet up here. And I'm not thinking too much about composition. I'm just kind of adding in some colors that I love. I put in a bit of a yellow there. And just letting the water move the way it wants. I'm gonna add in almost like a buttery, kind of a more of a light yellow. And I'm gonna go back to this painting and see what I wanna do. Go back into that yellow and just pull out some of that middle. And I've lost some of the dark in there, so I'm gonna go back in with that dark green because I liked it. And the higher the quality of the watercolor paper, the more opportunities to kind of go back in over top. Just gonna add a little bit of green up there as well. And I'm gonna maybe add in some of this clay color. It might be called clay. It's like a really neutral light gray. And just kind of, I say drop it in, which is like dropping it over top of an area where I may want to modify the color a bit. I'm squinting my eyes and I'm seeing, I really, just gonna kind of pull down that one here. And seeing what I like, if I kind of step back, I'm gonna add in some of this really light blue. And I think I want to make the magenta that I started with a little bit brighter. Do I have that opportunity here? I'm not too sure. I think I do down here. Yes, it's still a bit wet. And I'm gonna use my paper towel because I didn't want too much of that bright magenta, just a little bit to kind of bring it back in. And I'm gonna go back into kind of that burnt orange. And just use sort of the dirty water on my brush and dip into that magenta and pull it upward and kind of connect this area here. See where it's going to take me. I'm going to blot it out just to reroot it a little bit. And I feel like that could be a beautiful flower when it's dry. And I'm squinting my eyes to see if I have enough contrast, and I want to go back and add a little bit more the green through here. And maybe a little bit darker again up here. And go into more of that light yellow and just tidy up some of that area. And I feel like this tends to happen. I work on two at a time, and then I kind of favor one for a while as I get going. I'm just gonna tear off this page. And it gives me the opportunity to see what I've done here, and if I want to kind of repeat the same color pattern over here. I really like that buttery yellow. Beam Paints has a wonderful light yellow. I think it's called Butter. And you can just see, we've talked about transparency in some of my videos lately. You can see that putting that lighter transparent shade over top of this green, because it was already dry, it just looks really interesting. And I'm gonna see, this almost looks like a bird wing here. And maybe going into a flower, almost like a hummingbird. And then this area here, I had a little bit of more like purple hues, and I could just add in some more to kind of bring that out. Or I'm feeling like I want to do more of a light green, something kind of over top of this area here. And maybe adding in a little bit of that up there. Maybe a bit of yellow somewhere, a bit of a brighter yellow in that area. Maybe adding it down there. I lost some of that burnt orange in this area, so I think go into an area that's still a bit wet, so that kind of gave me an interesting watercolor effect. And I would say these are ready to set aside and let them dry. When you're at this stage, if you have water-soluble pencil crayons, that is a really good opportunity to decide if you enjoy mark making with those water-soluble crayons, or paint pens. I mean watercolor paint pens, like brush pens. You don't want to use acrylic paint pens over top of anything wet, because it will wreck your paint pens, so do keep that in mind. And I am going to grab my, where am I going to go here? I'm going to grab my pencil crayons. Oh, I think I left them in the other room. So let's just see what I have. I use my, let me see what I have in here. This is a Neocolor 1. This one's a Neocolor 1. I will use those. So these are my Neocolor 1, which means they are not water soluble. So when I put them on here, and if they get wet, They're not going to activate. It's not going to become sort of like a watercolor paint. These are wax oil pastels, and they will not move once you put them down. And I really like these, not just to do little bits of mark making, but for instance, I'm just gonna tilt this just because of the way I like to do a loose mark. I'm gonna kind of, again, squint my eyes, and I'm gonna just maybe, how do I want to do it? Pull in just some mark making. It's very much a scribble mark. It was very loose, and it brings energy into this piece. And then with this one, we could do the same thing. So I kind of like the idea of a little bit less. And I wasn't planning that loop, but I like it. It's just, it's another different composition that I'm kind of trying. And if you have water-soluble pencil crayons or Neocolor number 2s, just gonna see what I have here. Just gonna get some that might be a little brighter, just so I could do a demo. So these are the Neocolor Caran d'Ache number 2, the aquarelle. These are water-soluble wax crayons. So you can go over top of them and they will leave an interesting mark because this is sort of still damp. And I'm just trying to decide, where do I want to put the marks and what colors. So I almost want something really to stand out well. I feel like this blue would be good. I'm just, without smudging, I'm gonna go right in here with these little V shapes because I like these in my work. You will learn mark making that you love. And I'm gonna just zoom you in so you can see. And I'm not gonna repeat it because this is sort of a smaller composition. I'm gonna maybe go over and add, I'm really enjoying the orange in this other piece here. And just kind of deciding what type of mark making would I like in here. I do like that blue. So I might just do some blue really loosely, just these marks. Kind of drawing the eye in a different area here. Almost like big raindrops of sorts. And now when I'm looking at it, I just feel like these are very calming, they're very dreamy, they're very much my style. I get really excited about going back in when they're dry. I know that I could use like a hairdryer or a heat gun, but I just love the process of revisiting work. And so I'll probably let these dry. I'm just deciding if there's anything else I kind of want to do with them. What else can I show you? So if you have, we talked about the wax, the number 1s and the number 2s. I feel like the only thing that was kind of missing for me was metallics. And did I have metallics in this palette? I do, from the Stone Ground Paint Co. So I'm just gonna get some fresh water out of my spray bottle, and I'm just gonna drop in a little bit of metallic. So I'm feeling the oranges. This is Tiger Lily from the Stone Ground Paint Co., Canadian company. And I'm just gonna, while this is still wet, drop that in, and I really like how it's blooming out. I love how this just happens to fall on the, I don't know if you've heard of the rule of thirds. I didn't go to art school, but there is something called the rule of thirds, which if you wanted to put a focal point or say a point of interest in your work, if you can divide your work into thirds, this would actually fall on that grid and be one of the focal points. So I feel like that was a good spot to kind of have that bright metallic. And this one over here, it's still wet here, so I'm just going to take the opportunity to drop in that metallic in this area. And I realized that maybe you couldn't see what I was doing. And I'm going to just zoom you back. So again, that was Tiger Lily from the Stone Ground Paint Co., which is a wonderful watercolor company. And I think I am gonna go get my pencil crayons, just because it's a bit of a thinner mark. It's really good for me to get up and stretch my legs. Good for the back, actually. So this is by Faber-Castell, and this is a water-soluble pencil, like a pencil crayon, and it's in earth green yellowish. And I just feel the need to do sort of some half rainbows in here. And so I'm just gonna look to see where do I want to put them. And I want to go right through here. And again, you'll get to know what mark making you love, but I really enjoy how the pencil went through the pigment right here in this area while it was still wet. And then let's just flip over to this one, and I grabbed a couple colors, but I feel like now that I see this pencil crayon next to this piece, this is Violet, Purple Violet number 100 by Supercolor Too Soft by Carandosh. So that's the same company that makes the Neocolor crayons, the number 1s and the 2s. Number 1s are the non-water-soluble wax crayon. The number 2s are the water-soluble. And I think what I'm going to do is, I did like that line work and deciding, do I want to put that in here? I think I do, so I'm just going to really loosely draw in some more of those kind of half rainbows. And the beauty is you can paint over it, collage over it, cut it up. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, it's all about just enjoying the process and relaxation. So I think I'm gonna leave these pieces here today, and I'm gonna pull a card from my Little Frog's Guide to Self-Care. This is so cute. I thank my body parts. Example, I am thankful for my hands and for all the ways they help me. Okay, so right now I am thankful for my back, and I'm gonna take care of it by getting up and doing like little stretches in between videos and keep my videos to a time limit that supports my ergonomics, which is around 1 hour. But it is, I think, you know, we take for granted what our body does for us every single day. And, you know, it's not until, I know for myself, I had to have foot surgery years ago, and it was a long time before it was discovered that I had this little piece of bone that got lodged in a tendon in my foot, and it wasn't seen on the x-ray when I first went to emerge. I actually got to the point where I could barely walk. I was on crutches, and they sent me to physio not knowing I still had this little piece of bone lodged in the tendon on the side of my foot. I got to the point where I could barely walk, and I was really fortunate that I happened to be working in healthcare, and one of the physicians who saw me regularly said, "You're still on crutches, you're still limping around." He's like, "You need to go back to," he's like, "go down to," I worked in an area that had like an urgent care, sort of a drop down emerge, and he's like, "You need to go right down there now and get someone to look at the x-ray again." He's like, "There is something going on." And anyway, it turns out I saw a really great, I think it was like an ortho technician, it wasn't a physician, someone that specialized in looking at bones and joints on x-ray. I think it was an ortho tech that this guy said that on the first x-ray they had missed this bone lodged in my tendon. So anyways, I'm totally digressing, but it was, I just appreciated so much not having or having chronic pain and not having the ability to walk properly and get around. And anyways, just to be thankful for everything our bodies do for us, and also just allowing yourself to engage in this creative process is so good for both our mental and physical health. I can't stress that enough. I stress that in almost all of my videos. And it's just sometimes, though, when we have days when we feel good, we take it for granted a bit. So, and I just, a thought crossed my mind. I know I have some people that have written to me, some viewers that are either in the hospital. One of my good friends has a very serious form of leukemia and is fighting for her life. And I know that these videos are sort of a distraction, and so I'm just sending love and healing to those of you that need it. And thank you for tuning in and sticking with me for my creative process. We will see you all soon.